Today's car, we've got a 2011 Mini Cooper S, which is having some problems starting in the morning, and that is usually a sign that the high pressure fuel pump is starting to fail on these vehicles. We have also already scanned the vehicle and watched the required fuel pressure and what the actual fuel pressure is, and that is absolutely what the problem is at this point. So the fuel pressure is not coming up to where it needs to be, which is an indication that that pump is going to fail. So that pump in the engine bay is pretty much right about there, and so Spencer's going to work on taking off the airbox and the hoses to do this job, and we're going to get started. First thing we're going to do is remove the air intake tube. A couple of hose clamps there, one going to the turbo and one going to the airbox. We also have a couple of hoses on here. PCV breather hose, so you can take the clamp out of there. Like so. And kind of rotate it upwards. Rotate that hose upwards, so you guys get it out of your way. There you go. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor. And we have another hose right here we're going to disconnect with a little breather hose. You don't have to take it all the way off, you can just lift it up and pull it off. There you go. Okay, so now we pretty much have our hose disconnected. Now we'll just pull it off of there. Alright, that gives us access to this part right here, which is our high pressure fuel pump. And so we've got a couple of fuel line connections in the back, an electrical connector on the bottom, and that's really about it. So what we're going to do now is take the airbox off so that we can get a little better access to the back side of that fuel pump. So on this side we've got a Torx bit to take off the T25 that we're going to use to take off the little mounting screw on the one side. And we're going to remove this vacuum line, brake vacuum line. It's good to disconnect this vacuum line entirely on the front and back connectors. That way it's just not going to break and it's just completely out of your way. Got a little vacuum hose on there. We're just going to lift off its little holder. Lift the airbox up and then kind of rotate it towards the back to disconnect the snorkel. There we go. Okay, now that gives us access to the back two lines. We've got this one here and that one there. So if you've just pulled the car in or have had the car running, you know, within the day you're working on it, you're going to have some built-up fuel pressure in that system. So what we're going to do is we're going to crack this line right here, put some rags under it, and we're going to crack that line ever so slightly. Wear safety glasses and proper safety equipment, of course. And we're going to just crack that line and let the fuel pressure kind of bleed out of it.
14 millimeter.
14 millimeter. Yeah, once you uncouple it there, the rest you can just do by hand. Well, that's looking pretty good. A little bit of fuel came out, but not a ton. And you're just going to bend that line backwards just a little bit, just enough to give you some clearance to pull it off. And then we come down to the next trickiest part. Yeah, it's dripping just a little bit there. Next trickiest part is dealing with this hose here. I highly recommend that you grab yourself a set of these kind of special pliers on Amazon. If you take a look at these, you'll see that it's got two, when you squeeze it together, Spencer, there you go. It's got those two grabbers which sort of push on each side, and then down here on your fuel line, you've got a little spot there, and then one on the other side. And so basically you have to push the connector inward towards the fuel pump. Get yourself in an orientation where you can essentially grab both of those and then squeeze lightly. There you go, pull it right off like that. Just want to be really careful with those. It's really easy to break those two tabs. If you break those two tabs, you have to buy yourself a new fuel line, which is not a huge deal. It connects down towards the bottom of the subframe, so not a massive ordeal if you have to do that, but obviously, you know, one less part you have to buy, and that is only a factory line, and I think retails for around, you know, $130 to $150. So it's better if you don't have to change that. So now the next step is going to be taking off the 3 8mm bolts that hold the fuel pump to the side of the cylinder head. 1, 2, and there's one on the back side, number 3 there. Okay. Spencer's just cracking those loose really quick. Nice. I'm going to use our trusty Makita to zing them out the rest of the way. Nice. Okay, so now the fuel pump is disconnected from the cylinder head, so we'll be able to pull it directly off quite easily. Just come right off of there. There we go, nice. Okay, now you'll notice that there's a black plastic connector down here, a wiring connector. That's the next thing we're going to take off. We recommend taking that off after you get the fuel pump off the vehicle. It's easier off the engine. So you push it in, squeeze the tabs, and then push it out. These can be a little difficult sometimes. It gets stuck quite often.
Feel the dirt in there.
Yeah. It's a connector that sits upside down, and so it has a lot of chance for debris and stuff to get on the inside of the connector. So sometimes grabbing a tool or something can help you sort of pull it off. Being difficult. Because of course we're on camera. There you go. Spencer's using some little channel lock pliers here to get a little better grip on there and have something to pull on, but obviously you want to be really careful with that. Is it coming?
It's just stuck on there.
Just push it all the way forward again. There we go. What a little turd.
Stuck on there.
Okay, so show me the other side. There we go. So this side is clocked in a certain position. That's the gear that drives the high pressure fuel pump. And if we look inside the cam area there, a little hard to see because it's dark, but you'll see that that has an orientation as well. So what we're going to do basically is clock our new fuel pump to be that same position, so when we put it in, it drives that gear. Okay. Okay, unboxing of the new fuel pump. How exciting. Not really.
Oh, the excitement.
Well, these pumps are really expensive. They can run anywhere from, you know, $800 to over $1,000. So now you can see where we have the pumps in the same orientation, and we're going to rotate the new pump to be in the same position roughly as the old pump. All right, perfect. Okay, so now we put it in, it should line up pretty perfectly. And take off these two covers. All right. So the process is the reverse of removal.
Sensors in.
And what I do is remove those rags that are down there. That way you don't end up pinching one inside when you're putting it back together. Okay, so now in theory it should just go right back in. There we go.
And there it is.
Perfect. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and get the 3 bolts back in. Really is not too bad of a job. Like I said, the hardest part is removing that fuel line that you need a special tool for. Like I said, I highly recommend you get that tool. I think they're like around $10 on Amazon, if even that. I'll have a link in the description below for that tool. Snug with the wrench. Remember that these are going into aluminum, so it doesn't take much. That's good. Perfect. Alright. Now we'll go ahead and reconnect our metal fuel line and our snap-in one after that. Screw that back on by hand. Push this line on and make sure it snaps on like that, and make sure it does not come off. Alright. Now we'll go ahead and reinstall the airbox and go ahead and start the car up and make sure we don't have any fuel leaks at those two lines. And other than that, we should be good to go. Not gonna hurt anything.
Okay.
Reinstalling that airbox in the snorkel. Make sure you don't lose the rubber grommets when you put the airbox back in or you take it out. There's 3 of them. Without those rubber grommets at the bottom of the airbox will kind of rattle around, so that can be really annoying. Plug in the mass airflow sensor. Reconnecting the airbox hose. Make sure that that's nice and fully seated on the turbo there. Hey, Jared.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah. Thank you. Now this line can sometimes be a little problematic, so when you push it on, you really want to make sure that that metal line snaps all the way down like that. See how it didn't go on all the way, even though it kind of looked like it was? You gotta push it all the way on and then really make sure that snaps into place. Try that now. Clip actually seems a little buggered up. We want to pull the clip out and reattach it. Seems like it's compressing enough when it goes down. Yeah, see how it's flared out?
Yeah.
So that clamp is a little flared too much now, so it won't actually grab, so we're going to squeeze it together and try and put it back on and make sure that that little holder goes right back on there. So it's better to kind of do it from this. There you go. Yeah, I did it again. Yeah. Okay, try that. It's not working. Here, hold this and try it. Okay. So, if there's any way we can maybe squeeze it up top here. May or may not work. That's locked on. Okay. So what I do is I just use the pliers to kind of squeeze it from above and give it a little more tension so that locking clip kind of grabs the little slot. These ones usually aren't so bad because they're much bigger. It's harder to bend those way out of shape. Alright. Connect our breather back up and it's a little preheater connection. Hear that snap? That's good. Plug back in this line back here on the side of the airbox. We'll plug back in our brake vacuum line. Critical for power brakes.
Slightly important.
All right, so that all looks solid right now. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and fire it up, and we'll kind of look and see if we have any leaks. Okay, so we're watching